Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast. We've just talked about this and I've forgotten. It's episode 94, I think, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. 94.
Yeah.
James is the episode. James is the episode counter. Episode 94. Before we get started, we like to do this at the beginning these days, just to remind you. Please like us, share us, leave a comment, a review if you can. If you're listening on a platform where you can leave reviews. The more we get this out there, the more people will see it, will hear it, and the more people will benefit from the amazing guests we have on and how they look at training, lifestyle, and health and fitness, basically. So before we get started, today's guest is, you'll see for yourself. He's great. But before we get to him, who we're going to speak to first? The usual suspects. Paul's looking all pensive there. Let's talk to Paul. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm okay. I'm just, I think we were saying earlier before we came on air, I've had a bit of a kind of tunnel vision over the last few weeks. So I've been a bit quiet in terms of the communication front with you guys, haven't I? So
you have.
I'm back.
It's good to see you still here.
I am still here. I'm still alive. So I mean, James had his 2 weeks out or 10 days out from phones and technology. I just had 10 days out trying to, stare at a wall and try not to hit my head into it, kind of thing. But I didn't. I've still got my forehead.
Fair enough. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's clear. Thanks for that.
It's clear. I think I've cleared it all up. I think everyone was worrying what was happening. But,
right then.
Certain.
Well, it's good. It's good to see you here, mate.
Yeah.
Right then, James. How about you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, everything's going well. I started a new training program or new training phase this week from Paul McElroy, which is good. I'm enjoying that. Just signed up for the SFL in November. So we've got 5 people from Unique Results going to that. We got myself, Nikki, Alex, Emma and Lauren all going to the SFL, which is great. And I've just ordered myself an ice tub for the garden. So everything's good.
You didn't just get a fridge then, like Dave Whitley. You didn't just get a fridge and fill it full of ice.
Chest freezer.
No, but I did see something funny the other day on one of these Wim Hof pages where it was a photo of one of these big old chest freezers, and it said, when you go into a shop and you have to ask, will this freezer fit a body? The look that you get when you get.
So you've now got a hot tub and an ice bath.
Yes,
and you're going to put them next to each other.
Yeah. So I'm going to go next to each other, but that won't be coming for about 6 weeks. But hopefully, I was speaking to the guy who runs the company, and they've got some really good people they work with. And there's a guy who's working currently with I think it's McLaren with an F1 team on the kind of cold stuff and things. So potentially a guest for the future. So had some
like we were saying, you're probably going to have to put your prices up with Unique Results, aren't you, to pay for your electricity bill?
Are these for marginal gains? Are these for the things that are going to give you the competitive edge this year?
It's more just for me for therapeutic, for kind of relaxation, for treating myself, for just.
You don't just lock the door to the toilet then and hope you've got a few minutes of peace.
No.
Basically, you need a neighbourhood weirdo, don't you? And James is starting to properly fit the bill, I think.
Yeah, it's good. I've got some clients who want to start using it as well and things. So it's just going to be really good. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you getting it for the gym or your house?
It's going to be at my house. But it's going to be.
You're going to invite people around for a cold tub party.
Cold tub, hot tub.
It's the new thing.
Is that part of the membership?
Well, if people want to try it, they can do. Yeah. So it's going to be. It's good. Yeah, it's going to be really, really good.
Drinks, I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You're quite the host.
I will be the host. Yeah. And
host.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's just, it's
yeah.
bonkers. I just turned the shower on cold.
Yeah, I did that the other day as well.
You
I had a
know.
great start to the day yesterday. I had a hot tub with a nice big black coffee in there. Then had a head shave. Then had a cold shower. I felt like $1 million after that.
You felt like $1 million lira.
$1 million lira. Yeah.
That was Dennis
Anyway,
Pettis, wasn't it?
enough.
He ran up to some actress and he said, "You look great. You look like $1 million lira."
Yeah.
Hilarious. Anyway. Right. So our guest today, we've all literally just met now. But I've been following this guy on Instagram for a couple of years, I think. Basically, this is one of the things we all talk about social media and how bad it is, but this is when, like, you know, I think learning to use social media for good is great. And when I started doing Indian clubs a couple of years ago, when I say started, I'd been doing them, like I dabbled in them, but like when lockdown came, I bought myself a new pair and was like, right, I'm going to get into this because I've got time. And this guy showed up in Instagram, trucking Indian clubs around and everything. I thought he's very good at this. And then it turns out he's very good at most stuff. He's very strong. He'll tell you himself about some of the things he's going to do, but one of them was heading up towards Scotland if he can get a slot, by the sounds of it, which is amazing. I've no doubt he'll be able to do that after seeing what he does on Instagram. But we have Mr. Eat, Move, Lift himself, Mr. Thomas Barber. How are you doing, Tom?
Meet you chaps, thanks for having me.
That's
Very
quite
well.
all right. And you're in Gainsborough, right? Did you say?
At Gainsborough, North Lincolnshire.
North Lincolnshire, yeah.
Right on the banks of the Trent.
Lovely. And I've seen you go out foraging and stuff like that for your dinner, don't you?
Well,
Which is
occasionally
fantastic.
I've been known to rustle around in the hedgerows. I've got a little penchant for picking stuff out of the ground and eating it. But yesterday I was out walking and we found some horseradish. So I dug that out and we had toad in the hole last night and that was lovely. And nice quick little horseradish sauce with it. It was tip top it was.
So you've just said something there, right? So if you we'll talk about like at the end, sort of like where people can find you on Instagram and all that. But if you follow Tom on Instagram, you'll see that he wears like workman's boots, like trousers with braces, and he's got he looks like he's from, I don't know, about 200 years ago. And he's just mentioned eating toad in the hole as well. So, I mean, honestly, it just all fits together. It's fantastic.
I only said toad in the hole because I couldn't wait for you to say it. Toad in the hole.
Toad in the hole.
So,
it's like that. That's like whenever when I make soup as well, and I've got a soup cookbook just ready to do. Anyway, we'll not get into that. It's not about us. It's about Tom. So, Tom, tell us a little bit about. So it's always good to hear sort of like where people come from, how they got into training, what they've done in the past, and then kind of like what your focus is now and how you like to train your people, basically.
Yeah. Well, I've always exercised really from being a kid. I played rugby from being. I think we went down. My dad took me to the rugby club when I was 6, and we went to a place called Thorn Engines Rugby Club first. And Thorn is a small town, a village just outside of Doncaster. Massive rivals with Doncaster Rugby Club, and by the grace of God, for whatever reason, their mini junior section were away that week, so we didn't go to Thorn Engines. We'd only just moved to the area, so my dad was trying to find a rugby club where we could go. So we swerved Thorn Engines and we ended up going down to Doncaster Rugby Club on Arnthorpe Road near Arnthorpe, and the mini junior section there was thriving. It was really bustling. It was great, and we tipped up. My dad had played good rugby through his career, and he was in the prison service and played national prison service rugby, and he'd been in the services before that, so he'd always been real sporty. So he was keen to sort of obviously pass that down to me. So we went down to Donny Rugby Club, and well, what was a 6? So I was probably playing with the under 7s, and I played rugby down there all the way through Colts. Played second team rugby, sort of. The second team and the first team, it was like a feeder for the first team. And the first team rugby was just about turning professional back then when I was sort of getting to that age, like 97, 98. It's sort of the game turned professional. And by the time I was sort of 16, 17 in 2000, it was like making decisions whether you wanted to, people were making decisions whether they wanted to play rugby as a bit of a career at that point. So I had friends who were being successful and going off to different clubs and whatever. And I did all right, got county honours and what have you, but it was never something that I really envisaged myself making a career of. And then obviously other things come into your life, and you move away from sort of, you know, the structure and the routine of Tuesdays, Thursdays, sort of Saturdays, and it becomes, you know, a bit of a bind when you're 21, 22 and you've got other things on your mind and you want to do different things. But all the way through from being like 7, my dad coached me. He became my coach. So there was a couple of coaches down there, and that can be a bit of a bind as well, having your father as your coach. It can, you know, obviously the people will always say there's nepotism if you get picked. So, and you're all, you know, you never know if you're there of your own merit. But then we trialed at different ages for county, and I got to play for Yorkshire for a couple of seasons, which was good. I got selected to play in a Yorkshire touring side, went to South America and played in Argentina, Chile, and that was really fun until the whole team got food poisoning. We went to Iguazu Falls, and if you ever go to Iguazu Falls, it's beautiful. There's obviously one side's on the Brazilian side and the other's on the Argentinian side, and it's got this huge, just massive water just cascading. And because it was obviously an organised sort of rugby trip, they'd laid on some sandwiches, but these sandwiches, they were like Parma ham sandwiches in like baguettes, and they were wrapped in cellophane. And I think they'd been there for 3 days. They tasted all right at the time, but then within sort of 24 hours, the whole team, bar 3 who didn't have them, came down with food poisoning. It was that awful. We nearly got quarantined. It was terrible. On the flight between Brazil and Argentina, there was pandemonium on the airplane. It was just, that's
the last thing you want on a plane, isn't it?
Of course, greedy get me. I had 2, didn't I? So I had it twice as bad, it seemed.
Excellent.
In fact, you were talking about hot tubs. We were in the hotel. Maybe I'm going a bit too much, but it was we were in the hotel hot tub recovering afterwards. And you know, when you're in a hot tub, you think, I'll just chance her. I shouldn't have chanced her. And yeah, so that was fun. We were, like I say, we went across there, and when you're playing in white, as Yorkshire playing white, you're in a foreign country in South America, not massively known for their sort of rugby, massively known for the rugby prowess, especially in Chile. They thought they were playing England, so they just threw everything at us. You know, we were an under-19s touring side, and there were kids who were much older than 19 playing against us. So I played rugby, and as playing rugby, we were trained hard. And my dad, being in the prison service, he actually used to take us into the prison on Tuesdays. We used to go do fitness training at the prison, so all the inmates, the cons, would be locked up for the night, put back on the wings, and then he'd walk up to the gate, he'd let us in, we'd go through the gatehouse and sort of, you know, he'd sign us all in, count us in, walk us down, unlocking all the gates as you go, straight down to the gym there. And the gym facilities at the prison where we used to go in were just absolute the bollocks. They were just incredible. I mean, you see, obviously, prison gyms, and there's a lot of heavy steel and all these different, you know, machines and whatever, and you're an 11-year-old kid thinking, this is just incredible. Wow. We do sort of circuit training and strength training from being sort of, you know, 11, 12, and it was like regimented. It was just part of what we did. We never thought any different. And then we'd probably do like 45 minutes of, you know, strength-based cardio stuff, and then we'd go and play 5-a-side, or we'd play basketball, and it'd just be part of the training that we did. So I've got my dad to thank really for introducing me to weightlifting, being a PEI in the prison service. Yeah, he did us a great service. He used to take us all over, and we used to be very active as kids, and we used to go doing, you know, abseiling and walking and doing all the kind of things you'd want to do with your dad. And then him being my coach as well, and instilling that discipline of training throughout me, you know, sort of junior rugby career, kind of stayed with me really. So I'd say that's how I got into it. And then I never did PE GCSE at school. I was always into kind of the Amdram stuff, and did I picked what was called EPA in my day, Expressive and Performing Arts. So I did that and got a decent GCSE in that. But then when I got to A level, it was like, right, well, what do you want to do with your life? I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. As you know, I was one of them typical, just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I studied English, I studied business studies, and I did A level PE. And then obviously having trained all the time, it was now starting to learn the anatomy and physiology that went behind it. And it was there after I qualified, got me A levels. I went and qualified as a level 2 gym instructor. And then got my first job at 17 working, Cannons, you might remember the chain, in Cannons Health Club. So yeah, so I was a fitness advisor, that was the role, fitness advisor for 2 years there. And did that, thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, had a manager who was a good fella. He sort of acted as a bit of a mentor and taught us the ways, the sort of the bedside manner, and also how to just write pretty basic programming, but keeping it well balanced, keeping it simple, just making sure that people were seeing progress and sort of marking the progress by regular sort of testing and reviewing. And then after that, I'd actually deferred a university place to do English at Sheffield, and for whatever reason I deferred it for 2 years, and then I also had another position placement that was to do sport and exercise science at Leeds Met, which is now Carnegie. And in the end, I just binned off the idea of doing English, and I went to Leeds. And in fact, I weren't going to go to university, and for whatever reason, I remember just all my mates were sort of finishing. They were all going to university, and I was just kind of the guy left without really much job prospects, working in Cannons and just earning a pittance, really. So I was thinking, what do I want to do here? So I had this deferred placement, and I said to my mum, I said, listen, I'm going to pack a bag. I want you to take me to the station. Well, I'll go to Leeds. I know a few lads in Leeds. I'll just bed down on their, in their halls, and I'll figure it out. So I did that, went enrolled, and they said, yeah, we've still got a place for you. So I signed up, and then literally I was walking through like Hyde Park, and I bumped into a mate who I thought was at London in university. And anyway, he'd binned that off, and he'd taken a place at Leeds as well. I was like, well, where are you living? What are you doing? He said, well, I ain't got a place. I was like, do you want to get a house together? So then that was it. We got a house together. I was at Leeds. I was studying sport and exercise science. And really, I mean, I could probably count on one hand the amount of lectures I tipped up to. I just been life off for 3 years, really. And sort of, I had a good time, played a bit of rugby and met a good group of lads. But the fitness that I'd gained and the shape I was in, I let it go, really. By the time I'd finished university, I was probably about the same weight I am now, but not in very good shape. Decided, all right, well, what we're going to do. So I didn't really, again, know what I wanted to do career-wise. I just now had a few extra letters behind my name. I'd not really used university in the way I should, like for placements and building contacts and doing what I should have been doing. So my uncle, who was into automotive car aftermarket parts, stuff like that, selling that kind of stuff, said, do you want to come and start a business with me, and we'll do this? I was like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. I kind of just bumbled along and did that for maybe 6 months. Just hated it. Just absolutely hated it. Took a postgrad loan out, which was like a millstone around my neck, which was just a nightmare because I pumped it all into the business. And then it went wrong. We weren't working. So I just cut my losses and came back and moved in with my father. And I got a job in Gainsborough because he'd moved this sort of way part of the country by then. And I was working at DW Sports. So, Dave Whelan's DW Sports.
Yeah.
They've gone now as well, I think. They went under. But then they rationalised all their business and moved away from kind of being fitness instructor orientated to, right, if you want to work here, you're going to have to be a personal trainer. So even though I had the degree, it's mad, but there's no modules in the degree that allow you actually to put hands on people and to actually train people. So I had to go and upscale my level 2 gym instructor award to a personal trainer award. So I did that. And then I went from 1 month them paying me like a pittance of 1,200 quid a month to me paying them £500 a month to rent this.
Yeah.
Like my eye rapidly dilating as I'm having a brain hemorrhage here, thinking, what's going on? So anyway, I managed to pick a few clients up. In fact, the very first client, I call him number one, John, and he's still a client of mine. In fact, in many lean times, he's kind of really been there to help me and bankroll me in many cases. And a lot of PTs will tell you, well, they might not be as honest as I am, and they might not tell you, but I think you have a core group of people who really get you through some of the lean times. Who
Damn right, yeah.
Dedicated people who, a lot of respect to John, number one, because he was, he's just been an ever present really. And then as I started sort of moving forward, it was like, right, I needed to find a bit of a niche, and I became more and more sort of involved in kind of the strength cardio stuff. And probably, it must be about 12, 13 years ago. I remember getting a book by Robert Dos Remedios. It was called Cardio Strength Training. And I read this, and it was like, wow, this is like a bit like the old school circuits that we used to do with, like, resistance based, sort of, proper weightlifting movements with body weight movements. And it was like, well, I used to love this sort of stuff. I'm going to get stuck into that. In fact, the book is still on my shelf, and there's some absolute gems in it. Really, still, it talks about complexes and the history of complexes and how you can sort of build and reduce or increase your rest time to sort of add overload and this and the other. It was just basically made sense. So I then started to become the sort of guy in the gym who was doing all the strength-based cardio stuff, and of course it got me really lean, and I was kind of selling myself then, and it was fun times. I then became, I was the guy kind of assessing people with the shoes off in the gym, and starting to go that little bit extra with clients. And the corporate world didn't like that. They don't like you to take client shoes off in the gym. Just heaven forbid you might drop something on a toe. It's like,
not that your average trainer is going to make, like, as in your shoe trainer is going to make a lot of difference if you drop a dumbbell on your foot, is it?
What, a tea towel on your feet, man? I mean,
You don't get your clients to train in army boots then, Peter.
So with the hobnail boots, they kind of came later as part of my image. Just to, again, the further up the mountain I went, the further I sort of got to the point of my niche. I just kind of slipped into that as a bit of an image thing that went along with the Instagram. The braces and the jeans were just a bit of a throwback to kind of the original times of when people might have been throwing Indian clubs around. The 19th century. Not that you didn't have any common workers probably using Indian clubs back in those days. It was more of a sort of a middle class, upper class kind of thing that might have been done in parlours and gymnasia of the day. But so when I moved away from DW and got myself my own studio.
So did you, just to ask Tom, did you, so you were in this kind of very commercial kind of corporate gym, and then you started to, you were kind of moving in a slightly different direction. Like you say, you were trying to, maybe train people barefoot. You were starting to have these, you were researching, I suppose, the genesis of this kind of thing that's gone on to become more of the kind of historical types of training and more niche types of training. So you just felt like, well, actually, I can't really be the person I want to be and do the training I want to do in this environment. So I'm going to go and start my own place. Yeah.
It's just stifling. It was a very frustrating company to work for. Listen, I get it that it's a corporate setup. They've obviously probably got insurers and they've got everything else that they want. They've got other members that they've got to consider, and they've also got other trainers that they have to consider. And if they're towing the line with the terms and conditions, and I'm not, and they can't seem to be favouring this sort of big guy in the corner because he wants to train his clients on Swiss balls and with no shoes on and this, that, and the other. So it was clashing, and at the same time I was reading a lot more into kind of like Ray Peat and sort of alternative forms of sort of nutrition and this, that, and the other. And I was very much kind of going down the rabbit hole of like, the mainstream is not the way. The mainstream is not the way. And of course, you kind of sometimes you do full circle and you find the area of your ways, but you do take little nuggets of whatever you find on these things, and it kind of then starts to create your own method. That's very much what I feel it's kind of done. You take little bits of flavour from everyone, and you kind of put it, and it amalgamates into your own method.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we were talking about this before press record. I think I said Gemma the other week. I said it's really good to hear people do, like, within the industry. People might necessarily do the same things. Like we say, like walk, drink water, sleep, all of that. But they have different ways of getting it across to people. And what you've just said there is great, because it's like, you know, you're in this commercial place and you were trying to do something different, not for the sake of doing it differently as well, but because you were on this journey to learn, and not just go, this is how they do it, so I'll just do it like that and do it like that for the rest of my life. It's like, no, I'm going to learn. And then, like you say, you come full circle and then go, right, I've learned all of this stuff. Here's the bits that I need for the people who are training for myself. And that's it.
Yeah.
But you'll get people who try and be different just to be different sake, or just to stand out somewhere on Instagram or whatever. And then that becomes a thing that they've got to actually keep doing to be different. And it's like, no, you know, the information is there, and it's how you package it up. And if it fits you and fits your people, then it's perfect, isn't it?
The irony there was that when I kind of left and set up my own place, I also went to do my first teaching qualification. So I did my petals, which is preparing to teach in the lifelong learning sector. And that allows me to basically teach whatever sort of, you know, vocational qualifications that I've got. So I was able to then teach level 2 gym instructor award and level 3 personal trainer award to students, obviously, you know, whether that be on a freelance basis or what have you. So I picked up some work for a company called Focus Training, and basically started going all over the country teaching people. And as I say, the irony was I'd gone away from the kind of the mainstream way of doing things, and then I put myself back in the mainstream way of doing things, because when you're basically under certain frameworks, you know, teaching frameworks, you've got to do it as it's set in the framework.
Yeah.
So it has to all be evidence-based to the best of what we know. And it's so you going, it all became quite basic again, especially when it got to that kind of the nutrition side of things. You know, you were working on with the Eat Well plate, and you were working, you know, with basic macros, which all makes sense. But there's a little bit more nuance to it the further down the rabbit hole you go. And of course, you know, when we're trying to keep it simple for people at level 3, it was a case of having to sort of, you know, jump back on the mainstream a little bit. But again, there's lots of good information in the mainstream. It's just the further you go down the rabbit hole, the further you see that there's a lot more nuance to all these different things. And there's, you know, there's many ways to kind of skin a cat, if you like. So then I did my assessor's award, and I've been working as a tutor and assessor doing level 2, level 3 gym and PT awards, and also massage therapy. So I've got a massage company as well, so a sports massage therapy company, and I teach people how to do that. So yeah, when Focus went under beginning of this year, actually, it kind of pulled the rug a little bit. So I've been picking up a little bit of freelance work with other companies, and in response to Focus going under, me and a colleague who also worked for Focus, we set up our own company. So we've now got our own training provider called Advanced Fitness Careers. So we've kind of moved that way, and sort of jumped in with both feet, and we've got his own company. In fact, we're up at Liverpool at the Fit Expo on the 3rd of July. So there's a Fit Expo up there, so we're going to proper launch up in Liverpool, which is going to be good fun. So if anyone's up in Liverpool, do come and say hello.
I don't think I've ever been to an expo. Have you, James?
Yeah, I used to go to loads of them. I used to speak at like the one at Birmingham NEC. There used to be
Body Power.
No, not Body Power. Before Body Power, even there used to be it's gone out of my head now. But there was a big, you know, before Body Power existed, there were different ones up at, you know, Birmingham NEC and things. Leisure Industry Week, I think LIW it used to be called.
Oh yeah.
LIW, all those sort of things. Yeah, no, I used to go to lots of those sort of things. Yeah. So Tom, with obviously you've got a very specific, like you say, Instagram persona profile, kind of the methodologies and the things that you do. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier before we press record about, you know, bent pressing and, you know, these kind of vintage style kind of strongman lifts and things like that. So when you went into, the whole kind of cultural, I suppose, historical kind of elements of training and things, how did you kind of start to go down that rabbit hole, and what kind of took you down that route? And, you know, how did you learn that sort of thing? And did you have mentors in that? And yeah, what was the journey as far as that's concerned?
I suppose initially it was the the desire to be able to lift this fabled 172-pound inch dumbbell. I'd heard about the inch dumbbell. Thomas Inch being a traveling strongman born in Scarborough in the 19th century, who had his challenge dumbbells, and he'd have the 172, which was the big one, and then he'd have a middleweight inch dumbbell, and he'd have a smaller inch dumbbell. And it's called Inch after his surname, Tommy Inch, which a lot of people erroneously think it's because of the, to do with the inches of size of the handle. But the handle itself is 2 3/8 inch in diameter. So it's quite a wide, it's like putting a Coke can in your hand, basically.
Yeah.
It's a chunky old bit of, cast that you've got to grab hold of. It's only 4 inches long, the handle. And either side of that handle is 2 big globes, which make it look like an old-fashioned circus dumbbell, which is exactly what it is. And it was his challenge dumbbell, and he took it all around to challenge people. And obviously, famously, people couldn't lift it. Sort of moved forward a few decades, and then it found its. I think Dave Prowse, and you'll know who Dave Prowse is.
He's from round here.
Is he?
Yes,
he's from the West Country, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He was born near. I can't remember where, but he's born in the southwest, round near here. Yeah, Darth Vader, wasn't he?
Yeah, for Darth Vader.
The Green Cross Code Band for anyone.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got it. And so he was a giant of a man, and he took it round challenging people, and he had to be able to lift it onto a Yellow Pages. And we're going to be like, okay, Boomer. In fact, someone said that to me the other day, because a friend of mine is out in Spain at the minute, Matt. He's done some Indian club swinging with me, and he was doing some heel raise squats, and he had this yoga block. He said, "This bloody block's massive." I was like, "Is there not a telephone director or a Yellow Pages?" And he went, "Okay, Boomer." Apparently Yellow Pages do exist, but it's all online now.
Yeah. I was about to say that strongman trick is kind of gone forever now, isn't it? There's nothing quite.
Yeah, there's a few in the States who are still doing it. They'll just. I think they still have directors, or there must be a factory that's churning them out, because this bloke's got thousands of them, and it's incredible what people can do with those.
I remember the old when they used to do it, and they'd try and they go, I can't tear it, so they'd open it up and go, I'll just take the big names out. And they just rip the sheet out, and then tear it in half and go, there you go, done.
But all those kind of feats of strength is what really piqued my interest in that kind of training. But the inch dumbbell was the one. It was this kind of, magnus opus, if you like. For a lot of people, regardless of how much they train, they might never ever lift it. It's really is. It's like a 0.1% of the population kind of feat of strength.
Is it like climbing a mountain or something?
Well, until you put your hands on one, you don't understand the enormity of the challenge you've got in front of you. Yes, it's a relatively innocuous looking. It's not innocuous looking. It's a big old thing. But you think, yeah, I can. Most blokes on a dumbbell will be able to maybe dumbbell deadlift a 78 kilo bell. Yeah, the chances are all you chaps can probably put your hands on a 78 kilo dumbbell with a normal handle and pick it up. Yeah. No problem. As soon as it's got globes on it, or the weight's globular, and as soon as you've got a handle that's only 4 inches long, so you literally, it's only like the width of your hand, and as soon as you've got a 2 3/8 inch diameter to put your hand around, you've got it all on to arrest the spin with your thumb strength. So if you haven't got thumb strength and the squeeze strength, you're not going to pick this dumbbell up.
Like I was saying, I've got a few replica type ones, like lighter ones, because they're just for a bit of fun and to chuck around in the park with the guys. But I've got a 20 kilo one, a 31, and a 42. And I can pick up the 20 and the 31, but the 42 I can't. That's 42 kilos. So whatever that is. What did you say the other thing was? 167.
Probably about 90 pounds, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's nothing. And I've only got little hands, but that's not really an excuse. I've also got not very strong grip. But I can the 42. I just can't do it. And I've seen you doing that on Instagram, and you're like, it doesn't look like much. You're basically just picking this. It doesn't even look that big, does it? You're just picking it up off the floor and putting it down. It's like, well, okay. It's like, yeah, but if you're trying to do it with your hand pretty much open, it's really hard.
When you think, there's levels to everything, right? I mean, the old thing, there's levels to this shit. there literally is levels to this, because there's guys out there who can clean this thing.
Yeah.
There's a fella out there called Lane Snook who's just, for me, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time in terms of inch dumbbell lifting. He can snatch it. He could snatch it. It's just incredible. And he's just a mountain of a man. 6'7", 24 stone bloke. Hands, decent size hands, strong as an ox. Was into his Highland Games sort of stuff. Another guy called Nathan Hall, who actually casts and has the so if anybody's looking for an inch dumbbell, after speaking about this, when I first started looking for inch dumbbells, they were like rocking horse shit. You could not find them. You just couldn't find them. Nathan and his brothers are also quite legendary in the world of grip, and they've sort of periodically cast them in the past, but now he's casting them quite regular, so we'll cast them to order now. So if people want them, they're reasonably priced. They're incredibly well cast. They're the real deal, and I would wholeheartedly recommend his products. Not like I'm upselling, here for me. I'm doing it for him, but they're amazing.
What's his name, Nate? Sorry, Nathan.
Nathan Hall.
James will order one just to have lying around the gym.
Honestly, it'd be the best.
He's got all sorts of stuff in there.
They do them with Marvel characters on the end.
Sorry, H-O, what was it, Nathan?
H-O-L-L-E.
Double L-E, cool. Because was it that I think I read before that it used to sit in a box, didn't it? And you had to lift it out of the box.
That's right. There's that. That's that again, a fable, I think, as part of the sort of the folklore of it all.
Yeah.
There's an old Pathé video of Tommy Inch lifting a challenge dumbbell, and it's actually an enormous different dumbbell. It's not the actual challenge dumbbell he used to take round. I think it was a different one because he knew he was being filmed. But there was a lot of controversy whether he could actually lift it or not. And it's there's a lot of debate in the community, and there's always a community, there's a grip community like anything else, whether he used to cheat it, whether there was a sort of little hole in the handle and he used to counterweight it, because if you actually backload the inch dumbbell, it becomes easier to lift.
Yeah.
So if you're holding the inch dumbbell and you backload it with magnets on the finger side, it's going to turn the dumbbell into your fingers. So it's taking that weight off your thumb, because that's the vulnerable area, your thumb. So as soon as you start to backload it, you can actually, pick. So it's called paradoxical loading. Obviously, paradoxically, you're putting more weight on, but you can actually lift it.
So now, in this day and age, you never know, in a couple of years' time, because of everyone using their phones, they'll have strong thumbs, right? Apart from
what is it about?
Apart from us old folk who still use our index finger to type on the phone, the kids, man, the kids will have strong thumbs. I'm telling you.
What is it about these things that fascinates you? Why is that an area that you've been so attracted to? The past, inch dumbbell, the clubs, the braces.
It's the esotericism. I think it's the. It's not like you can't find out about it and do it. It's just most people can't do it. And that's what I mean by it's quite esoteric. There's a big gate there, and it's limited by genetics to a certain degree. Because Peter, you alluded to earlier, you might have small hands. That is going to definitely negatively affect you when it comes to lifting an inch dumbbell. End of the day, if you have your hands around the thing, you're going to struggle. So the fact that you are in a particular club of dedicated people who've actually dedicated the time to be able to lift this thing. Yes, there'll be some absolute phenom freaks out there who can just put their hand on it and pick it up. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt. So, whether there's maybe 500 or 600 people in the world who can lift this thing, there's probably more. There's just 500 or 600 that have actually had a go and done
There's probably more people who've gone up the Mount Everest, isn't there? I
mean, I'm speculating here about how many people, but I would probably say it's got to be between about 500 and 1,000 that have done it. So in the terms of the world, that's an incredibly small fraction of people. And to put myself, amongst those as someone who's dedicated, because when I went down to Nathan's to pick mine up, I was, cocksure, and I thought, I'm going to be able to pick this thing up. I'm going to be able to pick, and it just humbled me. And I was like, really like a proper damp squid. But luckily, he had a pair of 20k plates as well, and that's another quite well recognised feat of strength. And I'd not done that before. And he said, look, should we do some plate pinching? I said, yeah, all right. So and I pinch them straight away. So that kind of
is that where you pick them up with the hub in the middle?
So that's hub lifting. So yeah, so that hub lifting is again another skill in itself because it's a different form of grip.
Yeah.
A plate pinching is where you get two plates together and you obviously pinch them at the top and then you've got to pick them up.
Oh, right. When you said 20, I was like, I can pick up a 20. That's steady. But two at this, right. Got you.
Two race with anything. You've got to squeeze them together.
That's before they started making the plates with the handles on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they flat plates? Or do they have they don't have a?
No, they don't have a lip. They're totally flat
right,
if you
okay.
put them that side. Yeah. So
That's yeah. I've got some of those. Yeah.
So, what was I going to ask? I wonder how someone like Tom Stoltman or something like this, the kind of strong men of nowadays, because they're massive guys. Like Tom Stoltman's probably is he 6'8", 6'9", and probably he'd probably be able to. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how. And then those guys obviously going to have massive hands as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I know that it's pulled quite a few strong men's pants down. When they've had to, been maybe put on the spot to be able to lift it. I know Paul even struggled the first time, but he has lifted it. So, kudos to that. But there are probably one of the best grips in strongman is Brian Shaw. He's got an incredible collection of strongman implements and he's pretty much any feat you can think he's probably done it. In fact, he lapped 2-inch dumbbells, got up to chest and did, dumbbell sort of chest press for reps.
Wow.
There's a guy
180 kilos or something.
Just phenomenal. Yeah, on them handles as well. And to lap them yourself and to get them up to chest on you with unaided, it's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. But there's British guys doing very similar. A guy called Sam. I think he's based up in the northeast, and he's doing similar sort of feats. As I say, Nathan is legendary for his dumbbell work, his plate pinching. He's plate pinched 225s, which is just phenomenal. His gripper work, you'll have heard of the Captains of Crush grippers. I
was just going to ask about that because I've got loads of that. What so that's something that people can, they've clearly got numbers and you can, so in terms of like closing a Captains of Crush, what does your grip enable you to shut?
So I've nearly closed the 3.5, so I'm about a millimeter away. Yeah, so that's on. I've got that on Instagram somewhere. You can find that.
I saw that. That was quite recently, wasn't it?
So close. I think I probably maybe as a bit of a throwback Thursday, maybe not so long back. But if not, you might have to go back a couple of years. But when I first got them, I shot a number 2 the first time I ever put it in my hand, and I didn't really know how to shot. I always thought I'm going to be all right at this. I'm going to be, and then when you learn how to set a gripper, that is just game changer. Because I
was just going to actually ask Tom, because we've got them at the gym, and I've got and there's a guy called Dave, and there's a few other members who use them, and I know there's definite technique, isn't there, if you get it set properly. But I always I can shut the 1.5 and I go for the 2, and it just feels like you kind of run out of squeeze when it gets close. Yeah. So I can get better than parallel, but it's just like that amount of pressure to shut that there is, what's your tips?
Fingers. So maximizing the leverage of your fingers. So if you think where your little finger ends, when you put the sort of, go back a little bit on the gripper for one, as the spring is rolled onto a gripper or it's created, you'll have one side that's straight and you have a side that's called the dog leg, and it looks like
that's the straight side. And that's the dog leg.
This is perfect for a podcast, this, Peter.
Well, it's all right. I'll go on YouTube.
If you're just listening, this isn't very helpful, and we are getting a bit geeky now with this gripper, but I don't care because I'm interested. Sorry. Okay.
The dog leg side you want to put into the middle, toward the middle of your hand. Okay. And that's where, and the straight side is going to go where your finger's going to curl onto that handle. And what you want to do is maximize the pressure. So the dog leg side would come. Shall I nip and get a gripper?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, and if you can watch this on YouTube and you are interested in the Captains of Crush.
This is what I was talking about, right? My fingers are like, that's,
Yeah,
I had a client who was doing one of my programs who said that the reason they're not that strong in the lat pull down is because their fingers were too short.
Yeah,
I tried to use that excuse with Paul McElroy. I said, I'm too tall to deadlift heavy. And he said, that didn't work. So, it's.
Okay, so there's your gripper. You've got a slopey side and you've got a dog leg side. And the dog leg side kind of comes off, and it comes off a bit straighter. So you want the dog leg side, and you want to put that just under your fingers. Now, if you see where that handle is, if I pretty much put it right near the base of my little finger, so it's almost cutting my little finger in half, that little pad there. And
You're
then
gonna have to lift it up, lift it up, lift it up.
Yeah, lift it up a bit higher. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So we're there. So it's that's your dog leg
Ah.
coming in. And what you want to do with your thumb, with your off thumb, you want to set that in so it's going to move nowhere. Because if that starts moving that way, you're losing your grip potentially. You're not going to be able to squeeze it all.
Yeah.
If it's there, and you then set the gripper in, you've got all that maximal power from your fingers. And when you squeeze, your little finger should be halfway on to finish, look.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's maximizing the leverage. So again, just lay your hand flat, put the dog leg handle right at the bottom of your metacarpal phalangeal joints, if you want to get technical. And then all you're going to do is kind of fix that in. Use your little finger like a bicep, tiny little bicep. Now you're making a bicep with it. And then you're going to use that to set your fingers on, set it, and then squeeze it.
Now, look at that.
And yeah, exactly. So you can see
that's where my issue lies.
Yeah, but you're allowed to set it. You can set it within the width of a credit card, can't you, or something?
You can either do a credit card set, which is where you have to pass a credit card between the inside of the two handles, or you can do what's called a deep set or a parallel set. So where you'll essentially what I did there, set it to parallel, and then finish it off.
Yeah,
I've got a long way to go to get that though, because as soon as I do that, it goes to there.
Yeah.
What are you holding? What number's that though, Pete?
That's a 1.
Oh, okay.
This is a Wimps one.
Because the captains of Crush, they go up to number 4, don't they? I think is it, and then there's only like pardon the pun. There's only like a handful of people in the world who can shut the 4, isn't there? I think
that's right. Now, as I was saying, when I went down to see Nathan Hall, who's probably one of the best gripper closers in the world, he did a demonstration of how to set a gripper with a 4, and the control by which he crushed this thing together was just unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. It's like watching a hydraulic piston closing this thing. It was just controlled, steady, just crushed it, and it was just phenomenal to be able to see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're dead right. Certified. There's only maybe I don't want to quote, but maybe 5 or 6 certified with Iron Mind. That is a very, very elite level thing to be able to do with your grip.
I think Brian Shaw might be one of them, actually. I think Brian.
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I've seen videos of Magnus Samuelsson. You know, the old sort of strongman. He had he was an incredible arm wrestler as well.
Yeah.
He had a monster grip.
So on the flip side of this, getting onto Indian clubs, right? The last thing you want to be doing is crush gripping one of those, right?
Yeah.
And I got taught. Imagine you've got your family hamster in your hand, and you want to cradle it but not crush it. So you're just going to hold the hand like that. So, what inspires you? What drives you about Indian clubs? Because you're well into those, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so. I don't know. It's one of them things that was kind of. It's very much a niche thing. I got into kettlebells when kettlebells were kind of on the ramp, and rather than doing anything in terms of creating content around kettlebells back then, I kind of missed the boat with that, and I was loath if I was going to miss the boat with Indian clubs. That's kind of one of them, and because I was already kind of an expert level of swinger, if you like, when people started getting into it and it started to sort of pick up traction and became more popular. So I felt like I had a bit of a head start on most people because it's something that I'd been doing for about 10, 11 years. I learned about club swinging again through my dad, really, because he was in the Navy, and Navy PTIs are called club swingers colloquially. They have the cross clubs insignia, and they use them, or the military adopted them from, obviously, they were adopted during the occupation of the Raj, and when the British sort of officers saw Indian men swinging big heavy clubs, they adopted smaller style clubs for the infantrymen and to improve the posture and the prowess in battle, I suppose. Then obviously they were adopted into sort of more mainstream popular culture in sort of England during the the 19th century. They were adopted by a guy called Simon Keogh, who discovered them on his travels and took them back to America. And then the popularity kind of waned when, more traditional gym sort of exercises we know it nowadays kind of took over in the mid 20th century. There were pockets of people around the world still doing them, and there was a guy in Sheffield called Mike Simpson who was swinging clubs, and I tried to go and do a course with him, but for whatever reason our diaries just weren't marrying up, and it never happened. And I was just busy away sort of practicing, and there were a few other people around the world kind of doing it as well. And really I kind of taught myself. I looked at a lot of the old manuals, because there were plenty of books written about it in the 19th century, and whilst it is quite difficult to decipher, they are very helpful if you can be patient enough to
when you say quite difficult, the language used in these things is hilarious, isn't it?
Well, it is.
The drawings it's all about circles, and there's just circles everywhere around this person. They go, you just do that.
You have to be patient. You have to kind of unravel it and kind of put yourself in the mindset of someone from that time, and how they would write, how they would speak, and how they would kind of deliver these things.
Yeah.
And the more I sort of was learning about the basics, it kind of then I was self-teaching myself. So like a lot of like cross body movements, and the more sort of technical stuff like the hip twists, and the sort of the different movements that look really, really fancy. And once you've gotten down, as long as you've practiced well with one club, you can start to then add the second club, and then you can start getting one hand working independent of the other. And before you know it, you're doing things that to the layperson look mind-blowing. But it's just that natural progression, just as anything. It's one of those things that if you're passionate about something and you dedicate and you practice, you kind of become an expert. And so having kind of gone down that route and become an expert, I wasn't going to miss the boat in terms of, right, I can be somewhat of an authority on this. And so I wrote a manual on it, and 26,000 words later, it's kind of the manual's in the can, as it were. And it's just having its final edit, and it's ready to kind of go live on Sunday when I start my Indian clubs course.
Ooh, right. I've seen that you're doing a course, but I didn't know there was a manual to come with it as well. That's great.
Yeah, it's a course that's been a long time in the making, really. It was a lockdown baby, if you like, because at the time I was like, oh, well, this could be difficult, not earning much with the pandemic. How can I earn some money? So started to move the online stuff, and with it being such a niche, if you're good and you've got a niche, then you're going to be all right. I think it's one of them, in it. And so I just started to focus on the Indian clubs and started thinking, right, well, that's my pond now. That's where I want to be at, and I want to be somewhat of a world authority in this, because it is going to grow. It's going to kind of it's growing as people want to train at home, and they want different forms of exercise that's going to kind of undo the hardships of the 21st century living, head forward on the phone. It's very much posture driven, shoulders back, chest open, working with good breathing mechanics, working left and right side of the brain, great for improving coordination, improving balance. So it was, there's lots of benefits to it. And of course you can start light, but then once the basics are mastered and the principles are understood, then you can start adding load, just like any skill-based exercise. You can add load eventually, and then when you find you start adding load, that is when the magic happens. It's like, if you think Indian clubs are sort of, the precursor to those was the Gada, the mace, if you like, and you can really add weight with the mace, and as soon as you start adding mace with any kind of swinging movement, you really start to improve the musculature of your core, your shoulders, your forearms, and you can start to see the benefits, tenfold when you start adding resistance. The lighter clubs I enjoy because I can warm up with them, I can cool down with them, I can set people challenges that are going to kind of allow them to kind of mindfully just be stuck in that little task for a little while. So it's not something that they have to kind of do lots and lots of. They can maybe say, right, I'll just do 10 minutes, and it's almost like a bit like you with your Rubik's Cube. Yeah, you'll do your Rubik's Cube and you're absorbed with your Rubik's Cube. Yeah,
totally.
And when I give someone a club routine, or I give someone a new exercise, I know for a fact that they'll do 15-20 minutes, they might put it down, come back, do another 15-20 minutes. They've moved for half an hour in the day, They've done something that's, going to be beneficial to their cognitive function. They've done something that's actually moving them towards a new skill. And so for me, it's just a perfect accompaniment to kind of other rotational tools like the kettlebells and, dumbbell swings. And
in my mind with that, it's the antidote to social media, because when you got some downtime, you might just get your phone and go, I'll just have a quick look, an email that I got the other day or whatever. And then you go, I'll just have a quick look on Facebook first. And then half an hour's gone, right? Whereas if you go, I'll just pick up the club and try and do that move Tom showed me for 5 minutes. Half an hour later, you'll still be doing it, right? You'll still be, I haven't quite got it yet. And then you go, oh, shit, I've got to be somewhere. Yeah. So it's one of those things, like you say, it absorbs you. Because I mean, I got into it over lockdown, and it is like I spent ages. I was like, I'll do 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes turned into half an hour, and I was just doing it all the time. And it's
you can make it into a cardio-based routine.
Yeah,
it can be, because you can integrate upper body, lower body movements together. You can, sort of, as I say, up the resistance. So as soon as you start lifting or swinging 2 kilogram clubs, in a parallel sequence or a heart-shaped sequence, for example, you're going to know about that, and you need to be efficient in order to be able to make that a cardio, response. Because if you're not efficient, you're going to fry your forearms, and you're going to have to give up after 25 reps. If you become efficient and you're kind of sharing the work between, you being in the right position and then allowing gravity to work, and then you kind of work in the gravity work, it becomes this kind of rhythmical kind of pattern of movement. You can work with the pattern of your breath. Again, I'll often do recovery days where I'm just nasal breathing, so I'll keep my gob shut. I'm terrible I'm a proper mouth breather. It's terrible. My wife mocks me all the time. But
you shouldn't admit to that in the fitness industry these days.
Oh, well, you know what? Listen,
you'll be cancelled.
I will. I can't. Listen, she gets to see me warts and all, mate. So and I'm like that. There's no excuse. I am a mouth breather, especially when I sleep. But during the day, I'm working towards bettering myself by doing things like nasal breathing during Indian club exercise. So if I want to do on recovery days where I just want to set a nice steady pace and I'm just working nasal breathing, easy peasy, I can again find that it's restorative, it's calming, it's kind of activating that parasympathetic, chilling me out, nice and easy. Of course, if I want to go heavy, I can start to pick up heavy meal. I can, swing, a pair of heavy meal and enjoy doing sets of 20 and work more in a strength, sort of phase. It's horses for courses, but the fundamentals with lighter clubs will put you in good stead for the heavier stuff. And that's it's just a fun.
And like you said, it's good. It's just good brain food, isn't it? I mean, I enjoy it. I'm like a math. I just like maths type stuff, like the cubes and stuff like that. So all the asynchronous stuff was great. Just figuring out patterns with that and how, you have to think. You're using different sides of your brain, aren't you? To control each arm at doing different things, and I love that. But then you get creative people, less on the logical side, who it'll work really well for as well, because they can just make up patterns as they're doing stuff as well, and then actually be expressive with it and what have you. And I know, there's lots of people who don't like the word flow with doing things with kettlebells and clubs and all that, but it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as you're enjoying yourself and you're getting some benefit out of it, it's brilliant. So,
I mean, as soon as you start to put 2 or 3 different exercises together, you're essentially, the club is flowing through a complex of movements. So you can call it a complex, you can call it a flow. It's just whatever nomenclature you want to use. It makes no difference as long as people are doing it. I'm quite happy. Some people call certain sequences, a phrase or a name, So, but the way I teach it and the way I it's a bit more pragmatic, if you like. It's kind of this is a front circle to back circle to low hip twist to low back circle. And once I've taught the kind of the foundations of each individual movement, and people understand the theory of how they can transition from one style to another style, whether that be with one club or with 2 clubs, the amount of possibilities of patterns and routines that you can, it's infinite. If I was to write a book on it, I'd be writing a book when I'm 65 and I still wouldn't be halfway through it, because the amount of combinations are there. It's almost infinite. You can't put a number on it.
That was something Tim Anderson said about the original strength stuff, the like all the bodyweight stuff he does in crawling and rocking and rolling. And he just basically said, "Yeah, your limitation is your imagination."
Yeah.
You know, if you can run wild with that, then with Indian clubs you can do anything you like.
There are some moves that, you know, because typically you think you might have follow-on style, you might have synchronous, you might have asynchronous, you might have parallel style, and then obviously within those you can do combinations of, and you can do kind of, you know, sort of different variations within each style. There are certain things you can't do, like with a front circle, you can't do a follow-on front circle. Your body just won't allow you to do it.
No,
there are certain things that you can't do. There are certain, you know, exercises that you have to be disciplined in the position that you're putting the clubs in order to kind of move to the higher order exercises. But if you're well versed in the basics, then coaching people to the trickier stuff is kind of fun. And when, you know, the possibilities literally are endless. There's so, like I say, it stops with your imagination, really.
That's one of the things, like circling all the way back to the start again about using social media for good. I mean, you've been putting out. I haven't done any of them yet because I haven't had time. I just haven't done it yet. But that stuff you've been putting on, I'm going to give it a go because I haven't picked up the clubs for ages, and I got quite proficient with them. So I want to get back into it. But my focus is on something else at the minute. But I'm gonna start doing those. And I know Chris Denning, friend of the show, Chris Denning, who we've had on, he's over in Canada, and he, like, anything anybody puts out.
Yeah, he's great
with clubs that he goes and does it. He just runs outside. He's like, I'll have a go. He's like a little kid, isn't he? It's great. I love it. But yeah, that stuff you've been putting out, and that's what's really good about it. You follow anybody who does anything proficiently with Indian clubs, and you learn a new pattern or something because everybody does something. There's expression in it, isn't there? Yeah. With everybody.
Yeah, that's it. And there, you know, there's no right or wrong. There's optimal and non-optimal, I always say. There's many ways to get to the same, you know, end point, many ways to coach something, many ways to kind of demonstrate something. I would always say, though, if you're a monkey see, monkey do kind of learner, and you want to follow people, do be diligent in following people who are proficient, because you are a long time undoing bad habits when you decide, I really like this club swinging malarkey, and I want to start going up to the higher, you know, order exercises. You're a long time undoing those engrams, you know, those motor patterns that you lay down in your infancy of club swinging. If you pick up bad habits early because you've watched it poorly, or, you know, you've watched a poor demonstration, it can be so difficult to undo that. So yeah, so look at people who are proficient, and because that's what when I was doing kettlebell sport, I used to just watch the best Russian lifters in the world and try and copy them, you know, to the best ability. And I was like, you know, I didn't have a coach, I just had eyes, but I thought, if I'm going to copy the people, I want to copy the best, you know.
Well, that's what Dave Keown said when he came on. When he got into that, he just messaged them all.
Yeah.
He just messaged everybody, and like 2 people got back to him, but helped him out loads. So he was like, well, that's as simple as that. Again, using social media for good.
Tom, can I ask your Eat, Move, Lift? Where did you? I know you've got that. It's a great T-shirt. I'll have to find out where you must be selling them somewhere, I'd imagine.
We take all major forms of payment, credit card.
But where that kind of the name that you obviously have for Instagram, and I take it that's probably like, you know, embodies your philosophy and things. The Eat, Move, Lift. When did you kind of come up with that, and how did you settle on that? And then also the logo that you kind of use looks like a kind of Indian inspired logo as well. Just sort of explain that for us if you can.
So it's essentially a hierarchy of importance. That's the philosophy behind it. You know, if you eat right, you afford yourself the right to kind of move well, and if you're moving well, you afford yourself the right to then start lifting. If any of those are not in place and you just start lifting, you're probably going to do yourself a mischief. And if you're, you know, moving towards goals, whether it be aesthetic, if you're not eating and moving right, you're probably not going to achieve your aesthetic lifting goals. So it's kind of it's a hierarchy of importance in terms of how I see it. Now, listen, I don't go down the route of recommending diets. as a tutor and assessor, I'm bound by certain teaching frameworks, and we know where we have to, if you want to be a dietitian, you go off and become a dietitian. You spend 4 years at university doing that, and you get, letters after your name, and that affords you the right to prescribe people diets. So, but what I do is I enjoy eating food, and I like to share, some of my creations, albeit on the stories, whatever. I do eat well, and I enjoy cooking. So it kind of still lives there as part of the ethos. But when it comes to diet, really, for most people, it's keep it simple, stupid. Just make sure it's calories in, calories out for the main part. Move a little bit more. Make sure you're doing your your neat work, your non-exercise.
We spoke about that exact thing last week.
Good.
Yeah.
And it is just keep it simple when it comes to when you're looking at weight loss. It's just make sure you're not over consuming. I'm terrible for not drinking enough water. I'm a git for not drinking, for probably hydrating as well as I should. But drink plenty of water. Move slowly and often, and lift heavy.
So you're a mouth breather who doesn't drink enough water. You'll be telling us you don't do cold showers next. Are you're a fraud?
Stop where you are. I do cold showers. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, that's all right. You've redeemed yourself.
Yeah. And listen, I've got to have something to work on, right? So, so in terms of drinking water, I am doing. Listen, I'm doing better. There's bottles of water everywhere, so I am doing better. I drink plenty of tea.
I've got one of these. It just never leaves my side. It's great. Yeah. Anyway, it's very dented as well because I keep dropping it. But anyway, that's my lack of grip. I'm gonna have to work on with me gripper more. I need to expand my hands. How do I expand? No. Anyway, we're gonna have to end there. I think it's about time to wind down, isn't it? So that's been great, Tom. It's been really good to meet you actually and have a chat. Right. And have another Northerner on as well, which is always good. So if people want to find you, where's the best place?
So eatmovelift.com if they want to see the kind of things that I sell and what I offer. The Indian Club, the first cohort of students start on Sunday. It's still open. There's still places if people want to book. I know this will be past the 12th by the time this is released, but there will be more dates starting in the future. The Instagram handle is @eatmovelift, and I think I'm @eatmovelift on Facebook as well. So it keeps it simple.
Keeping it simple, absolutely. So, James, sorry, I'm just writing all this down. James, have you got any closing?
No, just that I've been following Tom as well for a while, and yeah, it's really good to talk to you. And I think that the section there we talked about. I mean, I love the history anyway. I mean, one person we need to get on still is Brooks Cubic from Dinosaur Training, who I really like. Brooks and talking about the inch dumbbell and the captains of Crush and the techniques for that was really right up my street. I love that. I found it so interesting. And and it's just lovely to hear, your journey from, the kind of the standard kind of level 2, level 3 corporate, setups, and then, finding your path and then finding your own niche and finding eventually something that you love and that you can be passionate about and that you're a true expert in, which is great. And I'll definitely check out, because I've done some of the Indian club stuff before in Mace, but I haven't used the Indian clubs as much as I used to, and never did it to obviously the extent that sort of yourself and even Pete does. But I'll certainly check out your Indian club course as well, and get one of your t-shirts. I think that's a great t-shirt, really good. So,
I'm going to get one as well, actually.
It might not be any good for the listeners because the offer ends on the 12th. But for you guys, if you are interested in learning how to do the Indian clubs with my method, if you put intro 50 at the checkout, you get 50% off this first cohort. So it's about as good a deal that you're probably ever going to get from me. Brilliant.
No, intro 50. Okay, cool. And yeah, because I think this will be going out on Friday the 17th, won't it? But yeah, we'll look at the next. If you let us know the next one that you're going to do as well, and we can maybe give that a bit bit of a plug on future episodes, when it kind of comes out, the next one will be great. Yeah, no, that's great. No, so thank you. Yeah, been lovely talking to you, Tom, and I will continue to follow you and take some of the stuff that I've learned and try it ASAP on the Captains of Crush.
Good. Make sure deep set. Make sure that just don't let that dog leg side start slipping backwards in your hand. Keep it fixed. Get your fingers on.
Excellent.
Paul, have you got anything to add to all this?
It's easy to think that what we do now is the only way to do things. There's been a history of people exploring movement and exploring strength and achieving things that actually what most people can do now put most people to shame. And that there's a lot of knowledge out there that's been lost and rediscovered, and people like us really, and also Tom here rediscovering it and finding new ways to communicate it, and Tom's taking it even deeper dive than we ever have. We've kind of skimmed the surface on all of it. Well, I certainly do. I'm aware of a lot of these things and I've explored them to some degree, but never really dived as deep as Thomas here. And I think there's so much value for just our everyday client and everyday individual who wants to get back into fitness, that they can actually explore some of these things. And some of these things are actually accessible and probably more appropriate for many of our clients, things like club swinging, things like grip strength, all these things that are more important for most people's well-being. They shouldn't be just consigned to the past. They're actually super relevant now. But how you can communicate that is really the art. And that's obviously something that Thomas has been working on. How do you take some of these older concepts and these older modalities and make them actually more relevant than they've ever been? So yeah, it's fascinating stuff. So I urge anyone to check out the Instagram page and also these courses.
And it's also, I was just going to say, I've just got that on my desk still that I read. That's all relevant, isn't it? To the stuff we've been talking about. And actually, lots of people have contacted me trying to get hold of this book.
I have had a look for it as well. The cheapest one I found was about 180 quid.
I think as well, I think it might have been Chris Denning, maybe Ben Moore. I can't remember. Lots of people have been contacting me because that was a present, wasn't it? And then since we talked about it on the podcast, everyone wants to read it.
You can get it, but not really.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, for me, just listening to where Tom's come from, it's quite funny because you watch his stuff on Instagram, and it's like, it's like, yeah, you've been doing it for years, but you've had quite a normal path into it of just trying stuff out and doing the level 2 and level 3, and then moving on from there. And I think that's kind of like where we guys came from as well. I did a level 2 and level 3 later on in life. But I realized very quickly, I was like, that's just the beginning. Like that's so like, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like, that's where it all begins. And then you've just got to have the passion to keep going and finding what you like and all of that. So for anyone starting out, on a fitness journey or adventure, as I like to, I don't use the word journey anymore. I use fitness adventure because that's what it is, isn't it? And it's like, you're going to get started. You're going to like some things, not like some things. It's going to feel hard and all that. And just because someone's been in the fitness industry for years and they look like they know what they're doing and all that, it doesn't mean they didn't start somewhere at the beginning and didn't know what they were doing in the very beginning. Everyone's got to learn. So no, it's been really good. It's been really it's just been great to hear all of that and how these, people like Tom and all these other people who have spoken to all look abnormal in what they do because it's not normal anymore, but it is just normal. And everyone should be able to do some sort of thing like that. Anyway, I'm rambling. So there we go. So that's episode 94, all done and in the bag. So leave us a review, like and share. If you think anyone will get any benefit from this, send it to your friends, your family, everybody, and we'll get everyone listening. So we'll see you next. Who have we got next week?
I think we've got Chris Zaremba back, haven't we?
Chris Zaremba for part 2.
Part 2. Zaremba,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So there we go. So we'll be talking to Chris next week. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much. We appreciate you all. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favourite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.